Hey, welcome. So glad that you can join me here today. I'm in a different setting, in a new space. If you're listening to this on my podcast, you can't tell that, but if you're seeing this online, it's a different story. So I've had moments where I thought breakthrough was just right around the corner, and then nothing. I've wrestled with God, questioned leadership, my leadership, and have had to come to terms with the expectations that I've created. And so today I want to open up this topic about dealing with disappointment when expectations didn't materialize.
Hey friends, let me break into this podcast for just a quick second and let you know about my new book. What if the phrase "I can't" has been quietly, silently wrecking your life and you didn't even realize it? I've just released my book, Breaking the I Can't Cycle, and it's for anyone who's ever felt stuck, limited, or afraid to move forward in life, or like they're living beneath actually what God has them to do. This book is personal, it's real, it's raw, and it's for you. It's packed with scripture, stories, and truth that are going to help you silence fear, confront small thinking, and finally be able to give yourself the permission to step forward into spirit-led obedience. If you're ready to stop circling the mountain of limitation and start walking in faith-filled clarity, it's time to grab yourself a copy of Breaking the I Can't Cycle right now on Amazon. Grab that link below. It'll take you right to the Amazon store. Grab yourself a copy, or even grab a couple of copies for people that you also know that need to break this cycle in their life. Together, we can eliminate the I Can't Cycle. Now, let's get you back to your regularly scheduled Pastors Thriving podcast episode.
Is anything more discouraging than when you really are like you're on track, you're putting in the work, and nothing happens? And honestly, even to go farther than that, you've invested into this, and so there's money on the line, and money's hard to come by, and so it's like all these things, and yet nothing. Today, I want to talk to you about how to deal with disappointment when expectations don't materialize. So, buckle up, grab your coffee, whatever it looks like today, and let's dive into this really powerful this topic about disappointment. So, you've listened to. So I'm gonna have a really raw and real talk with you today. So I hope that's okay with you. But just recently, I have been in a season where I've been ramping up to unveil some different things that I've been working on, knowing that they're really going to be powerful for the church world. I'm ministering to the church world as effectively as I know how, and as powerfully as I possibly can. And one of the things that I did just didn't quite materialize the way that I had expected it to, the way that I was processing or planning for. We don't set out to do something expecting it to fail, or thinking that the results that we're going to experience are going to be less than what we want them to be. But that's really what happened for me. Is I poured everything I had into this thing, and it just didn't fire the way that I wanted it to. So what do you do when you're in a position like that? Um, I was I was really frustrated, really aggravated, and I'm not the kind of person that just gets mad. I'm the person that gets emotional. And even especially in that, I feel like, I wish that my response to this would have been like anger and um fight and those kind of things. But the outpour came from me in a sense of like emotion. I got really emotional about it, and so I shed a lot of tears over it too, and it made me feel so weak. So naturally, in this position of like disappointment, now I don't just feel disappointed. Now I feel like a freaking weak person, and um, that was kind of shocking to me too. I've been in that position a lot of times before, but I think there's a healthy process that we can get to in this. And I kind of want to walk you through this because it's inevitable. No matter where you're at, no matter what you're dealing with, no matter what you're doing, you're going to be up against some seasons and times of disappointment. And it's important for us to know how to do this. And so here's the first thing I want you to know is that disappointment is never a sign of failure. Okay. It's a signal of recalibration, alignment. I love the word alignment right now. I'm seeing the word alignment come through a lot in the in the different places, in the different settings that I am working on, and alignment seems to be one of the most healthy things that we can do in a season like this. It's to step back for a minute. Don't throw the thing away, okay? Be really, really careful about this. Just because it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go does not mean that it was wrong. It means that one part of it is wrong. And we've got to figure out what's the part that's off so that we can dial it in and get this going. The reality is this. You've listened to the Lord, okay? Trust the intuition, the instinct that you got from the Lord, that what you're doing is the right thing. When you start questioning if the thing that you're doing is the wrong thing or it's not God's plan, that's where it goes awry, okay? Trust the intuition that what God instilled in you, what he's trying to bring out of you, I'm sorry, that sounds pathetic. What God is bringing out of you. He's not trying. The Lord doesn't have to try anything. He just does. We're the ones who try. And so, but here's the thing, we look at our lives as this is where limitation comes out so much for us because we look at our lives as finite resources. We only have so much time. We even have less money. And so when we try something, it doesn't work. We look at it as a huge loss or as a catastrophic failure. Why? Because we lost time, we lost money, we this, that, or the next thing, whatever, all the things that come into play for you. And now it's just disappointment and discouragement. And you're left wondering, like, how am I going to recover from this? Or was I totally off in that? No, you weren't off. I heard someone just recently talk about the idea of like the paths, right? Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not into your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And so we feel like if something isn't going the way that we want it to go, that we're the ones who are off and the path is wrong and that you did something wrong. That is not the truth, okay? So don't walk down that path. You're not like off your hinges here and you're out doing your own thing. No, it's just that alignment wasn't happening and there's more growth that God wants to bring you into the season or into the person that you want to become. Like this is where it really becomes real for us, where Jesus' words, Matthew 16:33, in this world you will have trouble. But what? Take heart, I've overcome the world. And so we've got to manage this, manage our expectations on this, and realize that maybe we need to be out for small wins instead of big wins, and manage our expectations on those levels. And so don't beat yourself up over this. Let's just analyze this from a different perspective. Push back for a minute, get some space. Don't try to change anything in it. And let's kind of analyze it for just a minute and do some debriefing around it. What were you trying to accomplish? Let's start there. What was the goal here? And what did you do to try to accomplish that goal? Was there anything off in that goal? Was there some things that you could have done different about that goal? Did you get the information or the feedback that you needed to be able to adjust as you're going along about that goal? Does that make sense? Like, let's analyze right there. Take for example, if you're trying to launch a new group or connection group or something with your church, and you just didn't see the outpouring that you needed or the participation that you needed from it. Let's gauge this. What are the seasons that your people are going through right now? What are they already into? What are they already up against? What are they already experiencing? And the things that can pull away. What do they actually need? What are they asking for in their lives? You see, we're in a season and an issue of competition, and this is why one of the reasons why, pastors, I tell you that one of the most important things you can do in your world is figure out how to do sales training, because there's a psychology that happens in a human brain that we have to be able to speak into as often as we go along. And it's not to talk in terms of coercion or those kind of things, but the human brain is the human brain. It needs to work through pain. People change their habits or their lives because of pain. So what's the pain that people are experiencing that you can speak into that will affect? And this thing that you're trying to produce, what's the pain that's going to resolve? It's not necessarily in terms of benefit. It's always in terms of pain. And so let's speak into the pain, right? Did you do an effective job of doing that? Did you do an effective job of analyzing, what are people currently experiencing and going through, and how can you recalibrate that? And I think there also needs to be a time of reflection. So this is like a debrief, but then there's just this time of like get away for a while and for a few minutes, push back from the intensity of what you try to do, and uh, downshift for a minute, slow down, stop at a rest stop, use language like that, and then just analyze it. Strengthen yourself in the Lord. Listen to some things, get into some worship, into some prayer process. And I have another podcast that we're going to talk about those kind of things that I think are really, really healthy for what we need to be about and what we need to be at. But man, this is crucial and important for you, Pastor. Like you need to get to a place where you just are renewing and reflecting and analyzing and understanding the time frames of what you're up against and what you need to be into so that you can manage your expectations and get to the level that you need to go. It's really important to kind of analyze this facet of things, but do you actually know what you're after? What is your goal? What is it that you're really trying to accomplish? Because as I talk to more pastors today, the goal that they have is more ambiguous than they actually think it is. It's more just about survival than it is about anything else, or it's about getting back to a position that they were before. I've spent the last several weeks talking and meeting with many, many pastors online, and as I get to have these conversations, more often than not, what I'm hearing from them is, COVID did a death blow to us. I can't tell you how many pastors have told me that COVID did a death blow to us. Man, bro, I don't mean to be I don't mean to be sharp about this, but COVID was 5 years ago, and it lasted what? It lasted probably a whole year before we were actually able to whatever, and longer than that in some other countries, but we can't use excuses of the past to be able to depict our failures or our frustrations for our current reality, our present, or even our future. Like we've got to look at this and say, all right, what's really going on here? Because here's the thing, I will use a leadership quote, a Maxwell-ism for you. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So if the outcomes that we're experiencing aren't what we experienced, there's got to be a larger question. Let's stop blaming things and start analyzing it and saying, how do I need to grow better? How do I need to, who do I need to become to actually be able to analyze the outcomes that I want? Okay. And then what do you need to do in the meantime? As you push back from this, one of the things I've heard recently in some of the messages that I've been listening to is that many times God won't bless in the position that you're asking him for because you can't handle the blessing that you're asking for. And so let's push back from that and say, okay, if I got what God was giving to me, could I actually experience it? Could I handle it? Am I hoping, am I planning, am I expecting something that's going to be a windfall for me, but it's actually going to be a frustration for everyone else? Because we're not going to be able to handle this. We don't have the systems in place or the checks and balances that need to be involved. Have I thought through the entirety of the whole thing, knowing that, okay, this is going to cause a lot of complexity, and I need to either simplify or I need to be able to resolve the complexity? So think through those kind of things right now. I remember making some of those mistakes when I was in a pastoral role, when I, when I was in that pastoral role, and just going down some of these things and recognizing the fact that I didn't have the infrastructure in place that I needed to have to be able to handle the bandwidth that I was looking for. And so we had to kind of step back a little bit and create some of those pieces. And that even becomes a greater frustration because hello, the thing is like, I don't know what I don't know, but I'm guilty of what I don't know. You guys have probably heard me say that before, and I'm going to continue to say it again. And so you're looking at this saying, how do I know if I'm missing the infrastructure? How do I know if something is off? How do I know if I'm missing something that needs to be created? Well, I mean, that's where a great coach comes into play and can help you think through what you might be missing and can help you develop what is currently like absent from your life, from your ministry, from your movement. And I'll advocate that to no end because it just helps you get beyond where you need to get and to do the things that you need to do. All right. So Here's the thing. This is kind of really an really high level overview about where you're at and about what you need to be doing. This is what I need to tell you today. Like, don't beat yourself up for disappointed expectations. But I would also tell you this: don't stop dreaming big when it comes to the outcomes or the outpouring that you want to see in your life and in your ministry. Stay at that level. Just understand. I really believe that the Lord blesses and He wants for us to be able to have those huge expectations or those huge desired outcomes. One of the things that I think you've heard me talk about before is our work in Africa and Uganda and with Sparrow Village Initiatives and our work with my friend Sam over there. And I believe I believe when all is said and done, that's going to be $1 million project. And I have no idea how I'm going to pull it off or what steps I'm going to take to be able to accomplish that. And I really am afraid. I have 114 kids on the line who are kind of looking at this saying, is he going to come through or is he not going to come through? I've made some huge sweeping promises that I really hope that I'm not going to be disappointed by. But I think that the Lord really wants us to venture forward into faith and say, okay, unless the Lord comes through, I don't know how this is going to happen. And, I'm excited because right here, right now, when I'm recording this, that ministry, I'm sorry, it's not a ministry, that orphanage is getting ready to launch their very first business that we help them build. And by the end of this month, they will be cash flowing on some level. It won't be to the level that they want. It definitely won't be to the level that they need, but it will be a start. And finally, for the first times in their lives, they will have money coming in on their own that's not just given to them or handed to them. It will be generated. And that's absolutely what they need. Now, that's a testament to you because so many pastors that I'm talking with right now are overwhelmed with financial problems. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough money. There's just so many obstacles. And Pastor, you got to ask a bigger question about your money. So another question, another wrestle for another time. But this is what I felt like I needed to give you today. Don't beat yourself up about your expectations. So, all right, enough for now. We'll talk more soon. Have a great day.